Well done to Genre for finding it. Did you want to get off there, Mallory? To the left? To the right? I'll have to return Mallory back to whence it came from. He, she. Mallory will now be conducting your game drive. I'm done for the morning. Mallory's going to be narrating. I'm just the driver now. Okay, I'm really concerned it's going to go flying off. Ah, very nice reminder. No, Mallory, I'm very fond of you, but you can't keep running up my sleeve. This isn't working out for me. It's not you, it's me. Oh, goodness. Okay, so, alright, okay, fine. Okay, here we go. So apparently, many of you sending through a little reminder that the alien in the Alien movies was based off praying mantids, and they are somewhat sinister. Are you stuck there now? I know you obviously did want to be on the top of my head. Now what? Okay. Alright, you've just got to hold on. If you're going to stay there, you've just got to hold on. But yes, there's something quite sinister about mantids, so you can understand how they served the inspiration. Ah, there we go. I knew there was something. Hello, Brent in Final Control. How's Rusty? Apparently, Brent tells us that Rusty is not well at all. Brent tells us that from Final Control, that in mythology, in Bushman mythology, the mantid is the trickster god, and you can understand why. There it is. You can completely understand why, with their peculiar facial expressions and their very strange shape, why they might be a trickster god to the Bushmen, and why they might have served as inspiration for the aliens in Alien. And now all I can think of is that combination, plus the horsehair worms that live inside of them. It's very reminiscent of a certain scene in Alien. Right. With the vague feeling that I've completely lost my mind, I'm going to continue on the search for these leopard tracks. And while I do that, we'll send you all the way back to Djuma, to Byron, who seems to be working, and the bushwalk.
I hope you haven't lost your mind, Jamie. That wouldn't be very good, would it? Now, I'm just trying to have a look. We found a white berry bush, and I'm trying to see if there are some ripe ones. I haven't seen any or very many ripe ones just yet. They're still a little bit yellow. They do need to go a lot whiter. They are very tasty though when they are ripe, but these are not just ripe yet, so I'm not going to taste any of these because they do taste a bit bitter when they are ripe. However, I think I've seen another tree just behind me that does look like it might be tasty, and it is indeed. This is definitely one of my favorite trees. It's called a buffalo thorn, and I'm sure some of you would have seen it before on the show. It is incredibly dangerous. I say that because look at those thorns. It's got one thorn pointing straight out, and then one little hooked thorn pointing back, curved back. Now this is a fascinating tree, and I know a lot of guides do know this tree because it is a tree that we get out here a lot, and they do speak about it a lot, but it is fascinating, and it's got a lot of cultural connection to it too. Now firstly, let's get to how it was named the buffalo thorn. So the scientific name is Ziziphus mucronata, But how it got its name, buffalo thorn, is apparently when lions would hunt buffalo, the buffalo would go and back themselves up into this tree, and they would stand with their horns facing out so they could protect themselves from the lions potentially coming from the front, and they'd have this tree behind them and no lion would go through this. With these sharp thorns, it's very painful, and it would protect them. It's very, very thick, so it's impossible to get through it. So that's how it got its name, buffalo thorn. But what I find fascinating about it too is if you have a look at this branch, it zigzags. Do you see that? It changes direction. It goes like this, goes like so. With a lot of the African cultures, and especially Shangaan culture in this area, as I said, the thorns are very sharp. I've got to be watch out, I can't get too close to it. So a lot of the Shangaan cultures, or the African cultures, and especially the Shangaan culture, they believe that this tree represents, a branch could represent your life. So with this straight thorn, they believe that represents your future going forward. The hooked thorn represents your past. And this zigzag on the branches represents how your life changes direction. As you grow older, you perhaps change careers, change if you get married or not, whatever, anything to do with your life. They believe that this is how your life changes direction. And I find that fascinating. I love stories like that. The other thing that is really a wonderful story about the buffalo thorn is that if somebody in the family passed away for some reason, old age, sickness, someone from that family would go and break a buffalo thorn branch. And I'm not going to do it now because they are, let's see if I can get a small one maybe. No, I think I'm just going to end up cutting myself. So they would break a branch of the buffalo thorn, and they would then take that to the area where that family member passed away. And they would be responsible for that branch. They would then go and wave the branch in that area where that family member died or passed away. And it is said that the thorns and the branches would capture their spirit. And they would then return home. And in some areas, they would be so careful at looking after this branch with this family spirit's member that even if they jumped onto a bus, they would have to buy 2 tickets, one for themselves and one for the departed that they were traveling with. And they would travel back home, they would take that branch and they would bury it back with the family, back at the home, so that the spirit may be at rest and with the family. Isn't that a wonderful story? I do like stories like that. They're really, really incredible. The other nice thing about the buffalo thorn is there's so many uses for them. But these beautiful, crisp green leaves are very, very tasty. And it's a general rule out here that if you find a tree that's got incredibly sharp thorns on them, the leaves are probably good to eat, because these thorns are there to protect them from browsers so that they don't eat the tree constantly. Other trees that don't have thorns and have big, what look like juicy leaves, probably have a very high tannin content, so they don't taste very good. So this would be really nice to eat, and I do know that these are very nice to eat. You can use it as a lettuce substitute in a salad perhaps, if you're out here. Quite crunchy, crisp, not bad tasting at all. Always remember, if you are eating something in the bush, make sure you're with an expert that knows what to eat, and you don't just pick and feed on things, or eat things rather, not feed. We're not not like a kudu. There's another little interesting thing with the buffalo thorn. This beautiful little fruit or seed, and when this ripens, what locals would do is they'd take the seed or the fruit and they'd grind it down, and they were able to make a bush coffee out of it, out of the buffalo thorn. these buffalo thorn fruit. I've never tried it, unfortunately, and I do enjoy a cup of coffee now and then. So perhaps when they ripen, maybe we should come out, pick a few, and see if we can grind it down and make a bush coffee of sorts. I'm not going to eat this though, this isn't ripe. It's still very, very green, so I'm going to leave this right here. What an incredible tree though, fascinating, and I love seeing the buffalo thorn trees out here. Even though I don't like driving past them, because if you drive past them and the branches are close to the vehicle, chances are you're probably going to get cut, and that tree will draw blood. There's no doubt about it. There's incredibly sharp thorns, but having said that, I have heard of stories where guides have been out tracking, walking in the bush, and perhaps bumped into a pride of lions, and the lions charged them and chased them, or a buffalo for that matter, and these guides have jumped into a buffalo thorn tree, to get away from the buffalo, and usually what happens is you have to go and cut them out because they can't climb out. Those thorns are just too bad. So they get up there very quickly, but then coming down is another story. So just be very, very careful if you do see that while you're around. Alright, so we're going to continue on our walk, see what else we can find, and while I do that, it sounds like Brent is ready and back on Rusty. Let's go get an update.
Well, we are out again, fortunately, after our brief interlude in Final Control, where we got to see a mantis crawling all over Jamie. I just got an update on Karula's tracks. They headed through to the north behind the dam wall, so I'm going to pop around towards the Mawati River around Spaghetti Junction, see if we've got any tracks there. And as I said, unfortunately, the Nkuhumas look like they have crossed. They look like they've crossed. Their tracks have crossed, and there are no tracks coming back. So hopefully they'll be back for the sunset safari. But till then, we're going to keep searching for the Queen of Djuma, the magnificent Karula, and hopefully she has been reunited with both Hosana and Shongile. And just to keep everyone updated, since we did mention him earlier this morning, a firm favourite leopard of everyone's, I think, it's safe to say, everyone who's been watching for a while, Mr. Quarantine, Mr. Q, he has been found in a Torchwood on an Impala kill, so he is doing well. Unfortunately, he's not on G to plan, so Jamie is not going to be able to find him. Okay, no signs of any tracks yet. Also, I wouldn't mind some ellies this morning, but ellies have been really scarce at the moment. Just passing through, not hanging around too much. Okay, we have a nice soft sand coming up here to look for footprints. Nope. I'm hoping she's ducked down into the Mawati, maybe walking down the Mawati. It's another good area to hunt for Impala. You've got nice thickets on the edge of the Mawati River, and then you've got this open floodplain section that follows Twin Dams Road. Hi Alex. Alex is 14 years old, and Alex would like to know, what do we see the Queen of Djuma eating the most? Well, it really depends, Alex. At this time of the year, I think we're going to probably see her eating, the majority will be Impala, and more specifically baby Impala. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Nah, it's just a bird. I thought I heard it was dwarf mongoose alarm call. But later on summer, we tend to see her, and early winter, we tend to see her eating more Steenbok and grey Duiker. But you must remember that there are opportunists. So Nyala, Impala, Duiker, Steenbok, young Kudu, all of those are all fair game for a Queen Karula, and we've seen her eat all of those. But in the last while, it's been Impala and Nyala, I would say, are the two main ones. We have seen on a few duiker kills as well. Well, actually, VM and I saw a killer duiker just over here. Must be a month or so back, maybe it's a bit longer than that. Okay, let's have a look here. Are there any tracks crossing the lovely soft sand of the Mawati riverbed? Going down deeper into the Mawati. Nope. Okay, let's go check Nyala Road South. Now it does seem as the whippersnappers get a bit older, she is moving a little bit further to the north in Djuma again, and to the east. Oh, I wondered what that was that came flying in from the side. Hello, Mr. Dung Beetle. There we go. Now, dung beetles are fascinating creatures. Oh, there you go. My favorite thing about them is they haven't mastered the art of landing. They have not evolved to land well. So, and hence the heavy armoring. Oh, shame he's going to fall off now. Okay, let's put him down. Don't fly into me. It's very rude. Go look for your dung somewhere else. Now, the funniest thing about them is when they do find a nice pile of dung, what they do, they just fly, and then they smell, oh, poo, and then they just close their wings. And so obviously they got very hard outer carapace, because they don't land elegantly like a butterfly or a wasp, or they just close their wings and collapse down there, and then they sort of put their head up, and often they'll fall on their back, and then they got to jump themselves over, and then they smell it, and then they beeline straight for the feces. Squirrel, quite upset. Let's go forward a little bit. Oh, very upset. There's the culprit. Now, Mister, find us a leopard. Where's the leopard? What are you shouting at? Are you shouting for nothing? That's what you're shouting at. Shouting for possibly some loving. There's another squirrel climbing up towards it now that came off the ground. There's a leopard around. It's unlikely that they're going to be shouting from that low or coming off the ground. False alarm. I misinterpreted the squirrel language this morning. I need to brush up on my squirrel again. I was thinking they were saying leopard. They were actually saying, how do I put this delicately? It's time for loving. It's time to make babies in the squirrel world. Like most rodents, squirrels are prolific breeders. Okay, so we're just checking very carefully here. And when I started in February, when was that? What year are we in now, Vim? 2016, or February last year. Krula did spend a lot of time around here. Oh, hello. It's been driven over. It's a bit old. Let me just double check. Hi, Cola. Cola says, at least I can still speak lion. Yes, thank goodness. I must brush up on my squirrel, but my lion is adequate. Now, speaking of lions, Mfumo has headed way down to the east. I saw him quite late last night, right near the Kruger boundary with Tino. And the two of them were moving together. They might be heading down for a Cheetah Plains visit, who knows? While we keep checking Djuma, let's go back to Jamie, who's got a tiny feathered friend.
Here's a bird that we haven't seen very many of, and this is a particularly scruffy looking one. I think maybe after its long migration, it's feeling a little bit the worse for the wear. And we've stumbled upon a flock of European bee-eaters glancing about, and I'm actually a little nervous, to tell you the truth. I'm a bit scared one of them is going to come down and grab Mallory off the top of my head. So I'm keeping plenty of distance. There was a whole flock of them. I'm going to try and see if I can't catch up with them. By the way, Mallory doesn't want to move. I have tried. Bit concerned though that with the presence of so many bee-eaters, it could suddenly be swiped from the top of my head. Before that one was because this one was so scruffy, I was actually a little bit concerned about my IDing skills. Oh, sorry, I said roller. I said it's a European roller. I meant a European bee-eater. I'm sorry. I'm having a moment of stupidity. Apologies. I did that earlier as well with Genre. I kept calling it a European roller. So my sincere apologies. It is in fact a European bee-eater, not a roller. And the long and somewhat thin bill is the giveaway. It is a European bee-eater. Sorry, everybody. Creating confusion. It's just caught something. You can see it swiping from side to side with its bill. That's why the bee-eaters have these long, thin bills, is because, as their name suggests, they're quite good at catching stinging insects and keeping them a distance from their eyes and from their face, in order that they might protect their vital parts from stings. And then they scrape them. Well done, Genre. There we go. Now we can see it clearly. They scrape the insect across the along branches and so on. So a European bee-eater. The flocks of them returned quite a few weeks ago, but we haven't seen all that many of them. We are, of course, still eagerly awaiting the return of the carmine bee-eaters. In a second, I'll show you the different bee-eaters that we get in my book and where the slight confusion was earlier. But most distinctively look at the yellow throat. The yellow throat and the slightly dark reddish brownish cap on the top of its head. This is for our new viewers who are IDing birds. And then the blue underneath. And they're quite mottled and they're a little bit scruffy. They have just flown a very, very long way, as you may have guessed from their names. They have only recently, in the last few weeks, returned to our shores. Now, there we go. So there was a flock of European bee-eaters. It is now 2, and they are not rollers, they are bee-eaters. There, 3. Well done, Genre. Genre's got his spotting eyes in this morning. See, have a look also at the orlot. I was going to say at the slight point to the tail. Okay, so let's just do a quick IDing course for those of you that are new to our birds of this area. Let's start with our European roller. This is actually what you're looking at, believe it or not. Sometimes the diagrams in the bird books are slightly exaggerated in terms of coloration. And so this one, that is what I was trying to point out on the tail. That slight extension at the tip. But most importantly, the blue breast, the yellow throat, and the red-capped head. See what I mean about the long bill? That was a European bee-eater. We also get a white-fronted bee-eater, which is this one up here, with a yellow throat. Oh, yellow, that's not yellow, that's red. A red throat, and also with that ninja eye stripe, that black there, but with white, total white underneath it, and then of course it's quite rufous coloured underneath and green on top. So those are the two bee-eaters of similar size that you're most likely to get confused with each other. I have not seen any blue-cheeked bee-eaters, which is this one, number 4. I haven't seen any blue-cheeked bee-eaters on drive. I don't know whether any of you have. They're relatively large bee-eaters, and there are migrants. But I have not, hold on, my book's about to blow closed. I haven't seen many of them. Now, the other one that we are eagerly awaiting is not on that page. The other one that we are eagerly awaiting is the carmine, our carmine bee-eaters with their brilliant pink coloration. Now, the carmine bee-eaters is also one of the ones that we are still waiting for them to return. They tend to be quite late returners. We'll have to wait for them to come back to our shores. They often hang out around the Mulwati drainage. And just quickly, because we're doing different birds, you do get swallow-tailed bee-eaters in certain areas around here. They're a lot smaller, and they have very forked tails, hence the name swallow-tailed bee-eaters. I haven't seen any on our live drives. I'm not sure whether any of you have your swallow-tails on your bird lists. And then, of course, the springbuck bee-eater, because it's the colours of our rugby team, our Springbok rugby team. Tiny, tiny, little, it's actually called the little bee-eater, not the Springbok bee-eater. And there we go. Those are the bee-eaters that you are likely to see, but really little, carmine, European and white-fronted are going to be the ones that you'll see the most. And just because we can, we'll do a literal reading of the bird that we just saw. A far-carrying frog-like call that goes prrrup, croop, croop. And if that sounds completely bizarre to you, I'm just literally reading the way in which bird calls are written in bird books. And I'm only playing around because I don't know that I could do any better a job. And I know exactly what sound they make. They sort of do a chirrup, chirrup sound. Very distinctive, and you actually usually hear them before you see them. It is a long migration. So there we have it for our budding birders. A bird perhaps to add to your bird list, and also, now that we've been over the identifying features, a bird that you'll be able to remember for the future. I'm going to get out of here before a bee-eater snatches Mallory off my head. While I do that, let's go all the way back to Djuma, to Byron on walk.
So we are doing quite a few trees this morning. And it's nice to do some trees from time to time. I found a very interesting one here. This is called a sour plum, and then you might be able to see a little green plum that is starting to ripen. It's not quite ripe yet. Here's another one lower down just over there, and I can show you the size of them. That is it. However, this is still very, very unripe, still very, very green. So later, probably towards the end of December, we might start getting little plums which are they get to about this size, bright red, beautiful reddish color, and they are not called sour plums for nothing. these little fruits they're tasty, but they are incredibly sour. And it is so funny to see people tasting them. And the faces, I mean, if you think of the most sour thing you can possibly think of, this is probably up there with it. So the face you pull when you bite into a sour plum is just incredible. It's really, really funny. But they are nice to eat. They are tasty. If you can get over that sour taste in the beginning, and it's usually the skin that is very, very sour. The fruit itself isn't too bad, but it is incredibly sour. It's nice to see one. I will remember where this one is, so that maybe later in the month, or possibly in January, drive past and hopefully there's still some fruit around for us to eat and to try. Now, we haven't found too much else just yet. It is incredibly hot at the moment. But we have been walking around just seeing if we can't find little insects. We've had quite a few birds, a lot of bird activity. We did, however, earlier see a buffalo track crossing the road and heading into this area in front of us. So we do need to be very, very careful, especially a lone buffalo. Those buffalo bulls can be quite unpredictable, so we just need to be cautious. Just make sure if he is still around, that we spot him possibly before he sees us, or in time that we can just move away and avoid him. So we do have to be very, very alert while we are walking around. I found also quite a few little snake tracks crossing the road while we've been walking. I haven't been able to find it yet, or find any snakes yet. Well, not this morning. Just going to try get over this tree. Here we go. Brian, let me give you a hand. It's always fun climbing over these trees and walking through the thickets. There's a rather large termite mound up ahead. It doesn't look active, but let's have a look. I always enjoy just scouting around a termite mound. Perhaps there's some other animal activity around there that we might be able to find. And speaking of trees, here is another tree that is dead, unfortunately, but what I would like to show you is these wonderful knobs or protrusions off of this tree, and this is called a knobthorn. It's part of the acacia family, and one of the uses of these knobs is that apparently, I can't break one off, but if you had a toothache, people would break one of these knobs off and they would kind of crush it slightly and then put it in their mouth on that tooth that is sore, and apparently it alleviates the pain of a toothache. I've never tried it. I fortunately have got a dentist I go to, but yeah, I assume it works. A lot of people say it works, but I haven't tried it yet, and I really don't like dentists on the best of times. That's probably one of my fears, if I must be completely honest. I'm happy to walk around in the bush with buffalo and elephant and lions, but don't put me in a dentist chair. You just have to be cautious when you do come up onto these termite mounds, because you do have snakes in that may use abandoned termite mounds as homes. You could potentially have warthog around the area. We do know they burrow, they make holes and homes in abandoned termite mounds. So you do just have to keep a close look around, and just make sure that you are careful when you do approach these termite mounds. There's some spider hunting wasps buzzing around me at the moment. There's beautiful large black wasps. But doesn't seem like anything else is around here at the moment. We're going to continue, and while I do that, I hear Jamie's got a friend on her vehicle, which is great, but there's apparently another bird that might want to eat it. Let's go have a look.
I have two friends in the form of courting kingfishers, and oh, they're gone again. was 2 woodland kingfisher, and it looked as though the male had jumped down and caught something and was about to give it to the female before they both... oh, there we go. I didn't even see that one, John Ray. Well done. The bright glare of the sun. Hold on, they're going backwards. I feel as though I'm exposing Mallory to significant risks this morning. It's not intentional. All of the birds that would eat Mallory, and we're seeing them all on the same road. Where's this kingfisher gone now? It's there. Hold on one moment. Uh-oh. Oh no, Mallory's there. Don't panic me like that, Rebecca. Here's our kingfisher. Oh, that was not ideal. It's sitting on the top there, genre, of the silver cluster leaf. Got it. Well done. Yes, you do have it. You do indeed have it. I'm sorry. It was a tricky one. Now, there's our woodland kingfisher. I'm hesitant to linger for too long in case it boldly decides to snatch Mallory off the top of my head. Glancing around. Now, what I was hoping that I would have a chance to show you was the display of the woodland kingfisher, where they do that little wing out dance. Many of you will be very familiar with it, but it's always thoroughly entertaining to watch as they go about their breeding process, looking a lot more sleek and well groomed than perhaps the European bee eaters that we saw earlier. Except that the journey of the woodland kingfisher is not nearly so long. They don't have to travel nearly so far. A very beautiful bird and a very vocal bird. And the reason I'm saying that they are a threat to Mallory is that kingfishers, it's a funny thing. It's not quite a misnomer, because there are birds in the kingfisher family that fish, the pied and the giant being the prime examples in this area. But most of our kingfishers, from the woodland to the pygmy malachite, the brown and the grey-headed and the striped, they are all insect eaters primarily. And whilst they might skim the odd insect from the surface of water, for the most part they are not fishers. The name kingfisher can be a little bit misleading, and in fact the majority of kingfishers are not in fact fishermen or fisher birds. They are of course related to the kookaburra. That if any of you have spotted the similarities and you're new to these safaris, you are spot on. They are related to the kookaburras in Australia. Also, far-carrying calls, much like the famous laugh of the kookaburra, except in the case of woodland and many other kingfishers, it's a beautiful whistling trill. Lovely. There were some parrots here earlier, but unfortunately they seem to have departed. Right, give it a few more seconds, see if male or female comes back. A very good question from Vulpine Wolf Girl. Now, Vulpine Wolf Girl, you wanted to know whether or not we get any of the birds that stash their food on the thorns of trees, like the butcherbird, the shrikes of Europe. We do, and I just have to try and remember which species of shrikes will actually stash their food on thorns, because there's only 2 species that do it. Pardon? Fiscal shrikes, yes, fiscal shrikes is one. Fiscal shrikes are the black and white ones. We don't see them all that often here, but there's one other. And the reason I should remember this so clearly was it was a discussion during my Trails Guide assessment, where I was chatting we were talking about different birds. And Trails Guide, by the way, is you're walking when you are qualifying to take people on walks. It is the redback shrike. That's what I was going to go with. The redback shrike and the fiscal shrikes are the ones that generally do it. Most of our other shrikes will not. Speaking of prey, Chandra, where's Mallory? She gone. She. Oh, Mallory. How devastating. Perhaps took one look at the kingfisher. Oh, goodness. I've got Rebecca shouting in my ear, steering wheel, steering wheel. You have a new friend for me as well. I can't keep track of all the friends you keep giving me, Jandre. I can't tell if you think maybe I'm lonely. Jandre's found us a longhorn. there we go. A longhorn beetle. I can't have two such different friends, Chandra. They won't get on very well. A longhorn beetle, of course, of which there are many different types, it's not a difficult name to guess at why it was named that. It is called the longhorn beetle because it's got massive antennas that look like very, very long horns. Mallory, you're going to get squished there. Sorry, I'm just checking. Oh, sorry. Head in way. And there we go. There's the longhorn beetle. Perhaps, Chandra, they're all coming to you. Maybe they wanted to be with you the whole time. You see the way the antennas are working there to guide this particular insect. I'm not giving this one a name. I can't keep track. And it's gone. It's on your hat. It is on your hat. Alright, Chandra's got his longhorn. No, we can both have a hat insect. It's fine. You don't have to give it to me. Okay. Well, we'll prove that it is, in fact, on Chandra's hat. There is the longhorn. I think we've both lost it, Chandra. I really do. I think we've gone completely loopy. It does give us a really nice opportunity to closely examine the insect life that perhaps we might not otherwise have. Apparently one of you questioning who on earth who goes and fills up the vehicle with insects, so that Brent and myself have something to talk about when the animal life is, or at least the mammal life is scarce. Good question. I'm going to go with the electric light that sits above the vehicles. I'm going to say that plays a little bit of a role in, there you go, Chandra. There's your friend. My Mallory is still underneath the steering wheel. You're going to get crushed there, Mallory. What happens if I need to turn a corner? Well, I suppose you can stay at the bottom there. Alright. Well, we'll transport Mallory safely home. As I said, I don't think Mallory's very well. And we shall put her or him back where he came from. Since she did originate from the Djuma parking garage where we keep our vehicles. It is the electric light because, of course, that attracts moths, which in turn attracts the predators of moths, such as Mallory, who's staring at me upside down. Chandra also raised a good example of predatory insects, by the way. We were talking about it earlier in the predator hierarchy, and I said, did I miss some? And of course I did. It was difficult to think of a complete list off the top of my head, but antlion larvae are a really prime example of a particularly predatory type of creature. Horrible, hideous looking things. I mean, shame, that's a bit mean. The adults are beautiful. They do turn into, they are the perfect African example of the ugly duckling turning into the beautiful swan, because the adult antlions are gorgeous. But the antlion larvae themselves are these horrible round sand-colored creatures with giant jaws that build conical pits in the soil. Many of you will be familiar with them, and snatch and grab any poor hapless creature that happens to stumble into their pits of doom. Yep, there's definitely a screw loose this morning. I don't know, Chandra, if you feel much the same. I do feel as though something's come off or is rattling around in my head somewhere. Another thing I can tell you is that Cheetah Plains, in terms of mammal life, is very, very quiet, and unfortunately no sign of our cheetah for International Cheetah Day. I've searched high and low. I've basically driven all of the cheetah's areas on Cheetah Plains, and there's no sign of them. Frank, you want to know if Mallory perhaps should get hazard pay for all of the further danger we are exposing Mallory to due to the bird drive. Very valid point. I will negotiate with Mallory, Frank, and I will get back to you on that subject after I have discovered. I'm not sure, Frank, if you're offering perhaps to be Mallory's representative in this dispute. It's not really a dispute, it's a negotiation. But while I contemplate what we should pay Mallory in terms of Danger Bay. Let's go back over to Djuma, to Brent, who might be slightly more sane.
I doubt I'm more sane. I doubt it. What do you think, Vim? Who's more crazy, Jamie or me? There we go. As Vim says, you're all a bunch of nuts. I think he's referring to all presenters. Yes, we do spend a lot of time in the harsh African sun. It does tend to make us wonder a little bit. Only joking. So Last Track's crew go into this really, really terrible block full of little ravines and that. So fingers crossed that she pops out. So we're going to do a loop around it, and hopefully we get some luck. Now, since it is International Chikankanka Day, or International Cheetah Day, I think we're going to have a few little Chikankanka quizzes. And let's think. What is an interesting fact about cheetah? I think you guys know this one too well, but we'll start off with it. Nice easy one to get going. And is what, and if you know this, because I know I've asked it before, give some of our new viewers a chance to answer first, and then I'll do a harder one for everyone just now. So, where and in what country is the largest meta population of cheetah? Now, when I say meta population, it means the largest population of individuals with the most genetic difference, and generally also means the largest number. So what area, what country has the largest meta population of the cheetah? If you know the answer, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. I look forward to hearing from you. Hello, Anna-Marie. Anna-Marie is wondering, do I think there's a chance that cheetah might become extinct because of their weak genetics? I do, Anna-Marie. I think they're probably going to be extinct within the next 1,000 years or so, or maybe 2,000 years. And cheetah, unfortunately, are probably just going to be one of those failed arms of the evolutionary tree. And just think how lucky we are to see them. So, as sad as it is a natural extinction, and that is caused by their lack of genetic difference and their over-specialization for speed. Now, there's a lovely folklore about cheetah, and how did a cheetah get its tears? So, when you look at a picture of a cheetah, they've got black tears running down its face. So a mother cheetah had, I think it was 4 cubs or 3 cubs. 3 cubs, let's call it 3 cubs. And like most predators, they will hide their cubs while they go off hunting or go to do something. And there was a very lazy hunter, a human hunter that is, and he was sitting under an acacia tree going, oh whoa, oh dear, I'm too lazy to hunt today. I wish there was an easier way. And while he was lazing under his acacia tree, he noticed the mother cheetah sprint out, whack an impala, and then call her cubs. And her 3 cubs started feasting upon said impala. And the lazy hunter went, yo, if I had a cheetah, it could do all my hunting for me, and then I could just lie in the shade and drink beer all day. That is a good plan. So the mother cheetah left to go have a drink of water and head to her cubs. And the lazy hunter took 1 cub. And he thought, yeah, now I'm sorted. This little cheetah, when it's a bit older, is going to do all the hunting for me, and I'm going to sit in the shade and drink beer. But then he thought, you know what? I have 2 cubs, I can actually trade meat and get free beer. No, let me take 2. You know what? I could even get someone to build my house if I have 3 cubs to do all the hunting. So I'll take 3 cubs. And off the lazy hunter went, disappeared with the female cheetah's 3 cubs. She came back after having a drink, and all her cubs were gone. So she started crying, and she cried for 3 days, till eventually one of the village elders went and said, "But Madam Cheetah, what is the fault?" She's like, "My cubs are gone, my cubs are gone. Someone has taken my cubs." And the village elder said, "What dastardly creature would do that?" And the village started helping the cheetah look for its cubs. Eventually they were found in the lazy hunter's hut. And this was after about a week of constant tears streaming down the female cheetah's face. And the village elder returned the cheetah cubs to the mother, but by the time the cubs had returned, she had cried so much it stained her face. And the lazy hunter was then banished and beaten with a large stick. Anyway, that's a Zulu folklore about greed. So one must remember that most of these African folklores were what we would call school. Teach the kids not to do bad things and have bad habits. So that one's about greed and what greed can do to other people. Oh, there are some elephant tracks here. Oh, this could be nice. I haven't seen ellies in some time. Or 2 days. Just one, looks like one elephant ball here. But we are also checking very carefully for Madame Karula's tracks, see if she popped out of this terrible section of ravines. Oh, so thank you to the people who knew the answer for not answering straight away and giving everyone a chance. So the answer to the meta population of cheetah in Africa, you guys have fallen into my trap. So we've had Kenya and Tanzania, and it is not either, strangely enough. Now there's a healthy population of cheetah in Kenya and Tanzania, the Mara and the Serengeti, and also the Maswa and other areas, but it is not the largest meta population of cheetah in Africa. Come on, Karula, just be lounging in a tree where you can see your tail hanging down. Actually, one of the few places I've seen cheetah on Djuma was right here. So you never know, maybe International Cheetah Day they've decided to come to Djuma instead of Cheetah Plains. So there we go again, not Botswana. It's an interesting one, and I'll give you guys a little bit longer. Okay, Vim, I'm not sure, I could be, okay, we're going to that back marula there. It's a long shot, but it could be a little bit higher. Let me just have a look now. A little bit to the left, I think. A little bit higher. Do you see it? We're looking for a yellow dot in that thick. A little bit to the left, maybe. So it was a European oriole. European golden oriole, but it just did a disappearing act. Maybe if we go forward a bit. Oh, no. Okay. I thought I saw it pop out in that fork. Oh, it was too quick for me. I think it did a... Oh, there's something else to the bottom right, but I don't know if that's the oriole. Let me come out a little bit, Vim. A little bit lower, the bottom branch there, somewhere around. A little bit more to the right. It's behind that. I think it's gone behind that. Oh, they're jumping up to the... So, there on the screen, Vim. There. Okay, you got it. What was that? I don't think that was the oriole there. You can see... Oh. Oh, disappeared out the back. But that wasn't the oriole. But we still haven't managed to get a European golden oriole on camera. They're quite tricky. But again, Botswana has a very healthy population of cheetah up in the north and in the south. Yes, we go. And then one last guess was Namibia, which is also incorrect, although they do have a very healthy population. But the largest meta population, well done Gale in Australia, is indeed South Africa and the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, looking at this, you would think, what would a cheetah want to be doing in this? But strangely enough, over a lot of their habitat, they do occur in mixed woodland like this, and they are quite successful in it. So, of course, they've become iconic on the open plains, but they will utilize areas like this just as readily. Okay, now I'm going to give you one more cheetah quiz, but not just yet. And while I think about which one to give you, Byron has got a hairy and a scary.
So have a look at this beautiful caterpillar we have found. And it's a worm of sorts. It is a caterpillar, but this is apparently a larger form of the bagworm, which I've not seen this size before. But we are with Aubrey, and Aubrey was explaining to me something very interesting about them. And usually you might have seen some of this before, or one of these before, but what happens is these bagworms form these little casings. What they do is occasionally they pack thorns closely together, and this isn't one, but it looks like this. They'll pack thorns closely together, and what they do is the worm lives inside, and then it pulls this little pupa or casing with it, and then it will pupate inside here. So they do move along with that, and it's called the bagworm. Now, Aubrey was explaining to me that occasionally they believe that if their cattle eat these bagworms, they do die from it. They're incredibly poisonous. Now, which is interesting, and I've never seen one looking like this or this size before. So it is interesting to see, and there's always little firsts that we get out here. But you can see it is feeding on the leaf, just around there. It's been feeding on the leaf, and it's quite well hidden, fairly well camouflaged. But I'm sure if a bird had to see that, I'd be interested to know if they do feed on them. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've not seen one that size before, so it's very, very interesting to see something different. And that's a wonderful thing about being on these walks and having a look at insects in different areas. You always find little new insects and new little things that we possibly haven't seen yet. Unless you have people and scientists that come out and study specific bugs and looking for specific insects, sometimes we don't always see them. And also they tend to be seasonal. Sometimes in winter you don't see any. Summer also not necessarily throughout the summer, maybe short periods of time in the summer that some of these bugs come out that we see. And I know Jamie was speaking about antlions earlier too, so I'm going to see if I can find a little antlion hole. Nothing just yet, but I'll keep my eyes open just so we can show you what a little antlion hole looks like. It is still very, very hot, as you can see. I'm sweating a little bit here. But there's a bit of a cool breeze which has just picked up now. It's lovely, really, really nice. It makes it a lot more pleasant to walk. So I thought I saw something move here. And that's the other thing. Sometimes you get these tiny little creatures, little insects moving very quickly. When you have a look, they disappear. Some of them are very, very well camouflaged. So what we're going to do is we're going to start heading back in the direction of camp. Anna, interesting question. Now, you want to know about the vegetation. We've been speaking about trees all morning, and you wanted to know how mixed woodland differs from jungle. Now, mixed woodland is generally... So this area that we are in, for example, is mixed woodland. So what it is you've got a number of different tree species around here, but they're not on top of one another. There are still gaps and grassy areas in between them, but you have a mixture and a variety of trees growing in an area, but there is still space between the canopies. You don't have trees right on top of one another. Certain areas might be a lot thicker than others, and that is generally mixed woodland. With jungles, you need to remember that jungles are generally areas where the forest is basically the vegetation's on top of one another, and the canopy forms almost one canopy. Very, very thick vegetation, very, very thick, and also a lot more humid than probably what we have out here. That's generally jungle. Jungle and forest is very thick vegetation. It closes up completely, and the canopies usually touch. Whereas mixed woodland, it's a lot sparser with trees all over. And then you have the grassland, where it's generally grass as far as the eye can see, very flat open areas. The best example of that would be up in East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, up in the Mara, where James was earlier this year. You get those beautiful open grasslands where the grass all forms one blanket or one layer that you can see for as far as the eye can see, and every now and then you'll see a few trees dotted around. But this area that we are in, mixed woodland, a lot more trees, close together, but not quite closing a canopy like you would get in a forest or in a jungle. So we're going to continue. As I said, we're going to probably head back towards camp now. Just because, well, time's starting to run on. We've got a fair amount of distance away. We need to be and I wanted to check these water holes just in case something was potentially coming down to drink, but it doesn't look like there's any wildlife around at the moment. But just because we don't have doesn't mean there isn't any out here. Brent has got an Impala he'd like to show you.
Those babies are all legs. A runway model would be proud to have legs like that. I mean, they're almost the same size as the adult's legs on a body, an eighth of the size. They are just very sweet looking little critters. Sticking close to mom. Oh, let's just go forward. There's one having a snooze. Oh. Oh, no, it didn't like me starting the car. It decided to wake up. Now, as it gets hot and they sit down to ruminate, you'll often find little nursery groups of baby impala. So you'll find 5 or 6, sometimes even more. Oh, hello. Hi, Ma. It's hot, Ma. Don't make me get up, Ma. See, already ruminating. So even though they are heavily reliant on their mother's milk, they have already started feeding on grass and leaves at this very, very young age. So they are a very precocial species. So miniature formed versions of the adults, able to run and feed within run within minutes of birth, and able to feed on grass and leaves within. Oh, I got a fright from the oxpecker. Within a day or so of being born. Those impalas are not enjoying that oxpecker. So as it gets warmer today, and I think today is going to be a very hot day, you're going to find groups of impala like this coming into the shade under the big marulas in the open areas and ruminating away, chewing the cud. Oh, thirsty. See how they headbutt mom's udder to stimulate milk production? Unfortunately, I think the impalas are quite tough, because that looked like quite a serious headbutt there. Oh, hello, friend. Even their eyes are too big for their heads at the moment. Oh, very tender. Sweet little things. Okay, well, we're going to leave them. I still haven't forgotten about your last cheetah quiz, but it seems like Jamie has the tortoise that could.
I have the tortoise that did. A little leopard tortoise that managed to surmount the massive obstacle that was put in its way in terms of climbing over a sandbank. But I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that this might be the most beautiful... Are you not? No, you silly bean. Oh dear. And we're back down the sandbank. What on earth was the point of that entire struggle, you silly creature? I was about to point out to you that you are probably looking at one of the most beautiful leopard tortoises in the world. Certainly one of the prettiest that I've ever seen. It just goes to show what kind of a role genetics will play in the colours and the patterns on a tortoise's shell. It is still a leopard tortoise, but it's very smooth and shiny. Little tortoise, you are very silly. Why did you cross the road, climb up the sandbank, unless it was for the slide? Maybe the slide is fun. And go all the way back again. What a silly thing to do. I mean, everything walking across the road is no small feat when you're a tiny little tortoise, and this is a tiny little tortoise. Just a little bit larger than the little ones that Steph and myself have seen. Look at him go! Racing across, highly mobile. And this is the champion sprinter of all tortoises, this little one. Now what? Now you've got to the next sandbank. At least you found some shade there, you silly thing. Okay, this is a much easier incline than the one before, isn't it? No, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh! Are we going back? On its own little mission. I would love to know what's going through that little tortoise's head. Is it after shade? Is it after food? Or does it just really like crossing roads? There we go. That's a bit more of a sensible decision, little tortoise. The little tortoise that could and did twice safely cross one of the main roads, and off it goes. Our leopard tortoise is slowly mobile, or highly mobile, into Cheetah. Whoop. So cute. Where have you gone now? Lost it. Where'd it go? Huh. The little tortoise that vanished. I can't see it anymore. Oh well, it was a lovely sighting of really what was the prettiest leopard tortoise. It was all sort of, it was as though somebody had come along during the night and polished its shell really nicely. Alright, well, since our little tortoise that could has vanished, I think we should go over to Brent, because I'm sure you're all anxious for answers about his cheetah quiz.
haven't forgotten about our cheetah quiz. So let's think about this one. Yes, this is the one. So it's almost a two-part quiz. So the first is, what country outside of Africa still has a wild population of cheetah, and what country in the last 100 years outside of Africa has lost its cheetah? And it's the only animal to become extinct in the last 100 years in that country. And which are those two countries? So which country outside of Africa still has a wild population of cheetah, and which country in sort of the 1940s lost its wild population of cheetah? Think about it. Let me know. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarth.tv. Now, while we continue on, interesting fact about cheetahs. Can you believe that, I think it was 1700 BC, the ancient Egyptians actually tamed cheetah is the wrong word, domesticated cheetah, sort of. So they used to use them like greyhounds to hunt gazelles, but they would sometimes have them on leashes with blindfolds, and then they would get dogs to flush the gazelle and then let the cheetah off its leash. Now that was passed on through the Persian Empire and into India, where that practice was continued till the 20th century. So people were still using cheetah like you would use a greyhound to hunt things in the 20th century. And a lot of the great sort of Asiatic rulers, Genghis Khan, Charlemagne, all of them had cheetahs that actually used to live and roam free out in their palace grounds, or sort of roam free. They were obviously fenced in. So out of all the big cats, cheetah's by far the least aggressive and by far the most timid and easiest to subdue. Now, of course, this is a problem for cheetah because, there's a couple of problems cheetah have. One is that they've got such an unsuccessful breeding. Such an unsuccessful breeding strategy, and they don't breed well in captivity. But because they are so docile and whatnot, they're often sought after by petting zoos and bad volunteer programs and things like that. So if you ever come out to Africa and someone says, come pet a cheetah, you're generally funding bad stuff. So you shouldn't pet any big cat. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, and generally those animals have not a great quality of life being kept in captivity. Now, there are registered breeding programs like De Wild, but again, it's so difficult for cheetah to breed in captivity. I mean, it's difficult for in the wild. You need a male biased sex ratio, and females have to turn down sometimes 3 or 4 males before they're prepared to mate. So it's a very interesting thing, and a lot of those factors are the reason that cheetah are probably going to become extinct in the next 2,000-3,000 years. Now, speaking of cats and other cats, Karula has evaded us completely. Last tracks went down near Vuyatela into that really thick area of lots of steep little drainage lines to the north of Gallagher Camp, and unfortunately we haven't been able to find her. It doesn't look like she's come out, but there's no signs of the cubs with her. So I keep wondering whether Shongile is maybe hiding on the western edge of quarantine and with Hosana, or Hosana is maybe still somewhere a little bit further to the north. So hi, Janet. Janet, you're 50% correct. No, you're not. Sorry, I apologize completely. No, Janet, you're not correct. But so Russia hasn't had cheetah in the last while, and India does not have a wild population of cheetah. So no, close though, Janet. Getting close. Well, we're getting closer. Iraq, historically, but they don't have any more. And Morocco is in Africa, and they are locally extinct in Morocco, unfortunately. But that's in Africa. So it's a tricky one, and there's only 60 or 70 individuals in that wild population that is left outside of Africa. Oh, there's a gnu. The Nkahuma Brat Pack says Iran, indeed Iran is the country that's got about 60 or 70 wild cheetahs left. Now I'm just having a look at Mr. Wildebeest. No ladies with him today, but Nkahuma Brat Pack also said Asia, which I suppose is technically true, but I was looking for a more specific spot in Asia, and it is India. In fact, the cheetahs went extinct in India in the 1940s. Now, there was a big push to reintroduce cheetah into India from an African population. But this got put on hold for the moment was from doing genetic tests on Indian cheetah skins and African cheetah skins. It seems they diverged from each other about between 60 and 30,000 years ago. So that would have been before the great die out. So quite interesting. And I know they're still doing stuff with the Iranian cheetah to see if they might possibly have similar genetic markers to the Indian cheetah that went extinct. But again, it's very difficult to reintroduce something that is critically endangered from a country. There's only 60 or 70 of them left in the wild in Iran, and I don't think there are very few in breeding projects as well. So a very, very interesting thing, cheetahs. One has to wonder with some of the Asiatic cheetah and whatnot. I mean, they occurred in India naturally for many thousands of years, but they seem to die off quicker than the African. And we're putting an African cheetah back there. Was the Asiatic cheetah going to go extinct naturally? There's all those questions, and it's one of those funny things. We like to try fix things, but sometimes it's not for us to fix. So they're doing a bit more research before they think about reintroducing a cheetah into India. Now, so yeah, Indian princes were the last to still use cheetah as hunting dogs, or basically hunting tools, and then the last sort of really big public figure or state figure, they've always been associated with royalty and class, you know. So that the Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, before the coup that sent him on his way by Mengistu, was often appeared in public and in royal photographs with a cheetah on a leash. Oh, here we go. Don't fly away, please. There we go. Oh, of course they fly away. The red-billed wood hoopoes, now in silhouette due to the light. The light is getting really harsh really early now as we move into the hot, hot summer months. You still got him there, I can't see him. Or maybe it's too looking too much at the light there. We're the opposite. We don't rage against the dying of the light. We rage against the light getting brighter and making our camera shots a bit more difficult. Yes, I did quote Dylan Thomas. Well done, VMP. Well, my little brother's named after Dylan Thomas. According to my mother, according to my father, he's named after Bob Dylan. Okay, well, the kitty cats. So we know where the Nkahumas are, and it sounds like they've just found one Birmingham and Buffelshoek. Oh, well, no, it's not what I thought it was. It was just a noisy go-away bird. Now, also, if you might have noticed, for those of you who've been watching for a long time, I've been looping quarantine. Now, I was hoping with the rain we've had that we were going to get some wild flowers, and I've been searching extensively for a couple of my favorites, but it just doesn't seem like we've had enough rain on quarantine to get that real spurt of splendid flowers. I think this afternoon I might head down towards Cheetah Cutline. There's been a bit more bit more rain that side, so I'm hoping that there may be a few more flowers on Cheetah Cutline. But while we continue our search for birds, leopards, wildflowers, and anything in fact, let's go see how Jamie's doing now that she's back on Djuma.
I'm thinking that for this afternoon at least, not that I don't like flowers, but I am rather hoping that perhaps we might have a chance to see cheetah. Well, the International Cheetah Day is not yet over, at least here in South Africa, but we still have that chance. And just bear with me one moment, I'm going to speed up because I just spotted something, and it's very pretty. To finish off our quiet morning, at least for Gendre and myself, we had one steenbok, one tortoise, one impala. So, we had baboons in the beginning. We did have baboons in the beginning. And, of course, Mallory. Well, you horrible battalier. It was sitting perched so beautifully. Uh-oh. Heard me. Too close. It was too close. It flew right over us. Gendre did his best. Well done, Gendre. It was in fact a boy battalier. A male. Sorry, shouldn't really call it a boy. It was a male battalier. That was a little bit incorrect. Alright, so in that case we'll just have to try again on the sunset safari for the elusive cheetah. Now, speaking of a cheetah on International Cheetah Day, no, Liz, I have never seen. You know what it's going to do? It's going to come and land behind us. Well done, Gendre. Gendre determined to. No. Oh, there he is. Sorry, Liz, hold on a moment. Wobbling away. The very characteristic flight style of a battalier, or a short-tailed snake eagle. Listen, I've never seen a king cheetah in the wild. I've only ever seen them at breeding programs like the DeVilt cheetah program, where they deliberately select, or in certain areas they deliberately select for that particular gene. So whilst I have seen king cheetah, it's never been in the wild. And king cheetah, of course, is just a cheetah with they're slightly larger, it seems, very clearly defined markings, much thicker. The black spots are basically black stripes, and they're quite beautiful. And I think so unique looking, hence the name king cheetah. Oh, goodness. Can turn my game drive radio down. We have reached the final moments of the sunrise safari. I'm sure you're all wondering about Mallory, just before we do our finishing touches. You all want to know where Mallory wants to keep Mallory as a pet, but I have to keep reminding her that mantises are for life, not just for Christmas. Although in the case of mantises, that might actually be the case. There's Mallory. Mallory is still here. I'm going to release him or her back onto Djuma when we get to the carport where she came from. If it is a she, I shall give her the parting advice of never mistake romance. Bye, Mallory. Have fun. Hey, I'll just keep my advice to myself then. Well, if you're a boy, watch out for the ladies. They'll really get you down. On that utterly bizarre note, having travelled all the way from Djuma to Cheetah Plains and back again, Mallory, sensing home and freedom, took off and flew away. On that note, thank you to Gendre for his wonderful camera work, the rest of the Safari Live crew, and most importantly to all of you for bearing with that utter madness. I hope you had fun, and we'll see you on the Sunset Safari. Bye-bye, everybody.
Well, welcome back, and it has been a fun but slightly mad drive. Well, from Jamie's part, we've had lots of fun, some lovely baby Impala. It has been a bit quiet, could be something with the heat and the strong wind, but I was just chatting to Vim and I was like, how can we work something you would never expect into a live safari? Well, Thundercats are a go, go, go. Now, can you believe it? In popular culture, just because it's International Cheetah Day, what was its name, Vim? Cheetah was one of the lead characters in the Thundercats, so obviously based on a cheetah, looking spotted like a cheetah and having a name like Cheetah. And the other one, of course, Cheetos, the chip, by the Lay's Frito company, was of course based off a cheetah. So there we go, cheetahs even affect us in popular modern culture. But from VM and myself and the rest of our live crew, it's been wonderful. Hopefully there's a cheetah or two and no Cheetos on the Sunset Safari.